busy couple of days. Let's see. Took a ride out with Empire Ducati to Hudson Valley Motorcycle Club, or Hudson Valley Cycles, I guess. That was, let's just say, eye-opening. We met up at Triple C, which is the classic car club, which I had no idea existed. It's on the west side, highway. I forgot what pier it was, pier 24 or something. What an amazing place. So it's a membership only club. They got a bar out there, beautiful bar. The whole thing's right on the water. Some truly fantastic cars. Cars, new, old, bikes. Cool spot. We took off from there with a couple of guys, mostly Ducatis. There was a Diavel in there, which was fun to see. Monsters, Panigales. We took off probably, about 7 or 8 guys. And so we went up Sawmill Parkway, Route 9, West Side Highway to start. Holy shit. I should not have kept up with those guys. They've all had track experience. They've all been trained pretty well. They've all been riding, honestly, a lot longer than I have. You know, and when they say, when people say ride your own ride, it's pretty much exactly what that means, right? Like, I'm happy to go outside my comfort zone, but 100% not something that I recommend for myself or anyone else, really. I did not have the experience to keep up with those guys, but I pushed it to the limits, and it turned out okay. It was a lot of fun. It did kind of cement the fact for me that having some kind of track training is probably a good idea. So that's something I'm looking into. There's the California Superbike School that goes on tour, and they're coming around. They're going to be in this area in August. I'm gonna try to attend that Monday. I think it's the 25th of August, which honestly should be a whole lot of fun. I've got a bunch of my buddies that are going to be attending as well. And all these guys, the guys that I rode with on Saturday morning, they all swear by it. There's different levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. Most are level 1, some are 2s. I don't know if any of them are 3s. But basically, you pay, I think it's something like $750 per day. It's like I think it's 3 separate days, but you could just do one day at a time. I think each day is one level. So I think you pay the $750. You can rent gear. They give you a bike. I think it's a 1000R, which is actually kind of nice because, and I didn't think about this, but someone told me, like, you really don't want, if you have the ability, you don't want to necessarily take your bike on your first or second track day. You won't feel comfortable. Kind of, you won't take it to its limits because you'll just be afraid of putting it down, which I get. Like, I understand that. Honestly, I'd be afraid to put myself down. I guess that's what the gear is there for. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to that. Another thing that happened, so for Father's Day, my wife's gift to me was, she told me over dinner, my wife's gift to me was that we get to pick out a helmet for her and she'll get on the bike, which was amazingly, like, it's such a great Father's Day gift. Some guys, and I was talking to a good buddy of mine, some guys will ride to get away, not necessarily from their wives, but from whatever it is that they need to get away from, and they need to do it on their own. For me, like, I don't ride to get away. I ride to ride because I enjoy riding, and when the way that my wife and I are, I'd love to share kind of my positive experiences with her. But I'm also, like, realistic because riding, like, I Love this circle. Riding is just not something that she's like. I'm not going to go on long rides with her. It's just not going to happen. She won't enjoy it. But tooling around the city, like, you know, taking her to and from like appointments, like that kind of stuff, I think should be totally realistic. And to me, that's like best case scenario. But anyway, so what was riding with her like? I had to watch a video for Moto Jiu-Jitsu, which was a fantastic video. So I had to watch that video, and you know, when she was first getting on the bike, she followed that video to a T. I mean, she's also that kind of a person. Getting on, getting off was no problem at all, so long as so long as the passenger only really gets off when you tell them to, when you tell them that you're ready. Having her on, I mean, you know, again, we're only riding in Manhattan, so like, there's no twisties or anything. Like, there's no, like, we're not really taking curves. We're making, you know, 90-degree turns left and right. You know, maybe for her the scariest, well, there were two scary parts. One of them is going through the Park Ave, going through the MetLife building, which is, you know, which are 90-degree turns but no stop. You know, you just kind of go through. That was a little scary for her, especially being enclosed with the bike loud and vibrating and all that. Another part is, you know, as riders, like, we sometimes forget just how fast the bike feels even at low speeds. And so 30 miles an hour for her must have felt like 80 miles an hour in a car. Especially since, you know, she's mostly risk averse, like doesn't like jet skis, etc., etc. And so, like, you know, I think the hardest part for me of the whole thing was trying to ride as smooth as possible, right? Like, when I ride like this, like, it's super aggressive, and I know exactly what I'm gonna do, right? So I know to expect it, whereas she doesn't, right? So for her, every jerk, every downshift and upshift, you know, she doesn't know to expect unless I tell her in advance. But, you know, I didn't use the quick shifter at all. I didn't, alright, in this case, don't do what I do, alright. This is how I get to my parking spot. Unless there's people here, then, you know, I don't. Anyway, I'll continue after I get back from the gym. So yeah, riding 2-Up was definitely an interesting experience. Again, I have no inclination, I have no expectation that that we're gonna go on long rides or anything like that, and honestly, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that for a good long time. But, well, I'm glad she did it. I do think it's a fun and honestly quick way to get around the city, especially in traffic. A couple of things that so far I'll keep in mind, and like, if it's your first time riding 2-Up, especially in the city, you know, obviously I have no experience riding in the twisties or in the country, anything like that. Wind is a big factor, right? So if it's their first time, then either a full face helmet or something with face protection, so like a 3/4 and like a visor. And that's what my wife had. She didn't like the full face. She just felt claustrophobic. Like, immediately she couldn't stand keeping it on. So we got her a 3/4. I didn't want to go half lid, and I just don't think that that's enough protection. So we got her a 3/4 with a shield out front, and I think that was perfect for her. And so that kind of tries to take the wind out of the equation somewhat. So when first starting out, I had the bike off, the kickstand was up, I had the bike between my legs, pressed in the front brake and had her get on, and kind of counterweighted the bike as she got on. And we practiced a couple of times in the garage, you know, literally like 3 or 4 times, until we felt like, yeah, we got this. And then went out. You know, she definitely dug in her legs into my hips, and just didn't move an inch, which was honestly, like, for the first ride out, especially perfect. The last thing I want is someone that's like unpredictable back there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to us doing it again. We'll see. One thing that she voiced a concern about was hitting like a hard bump and flying off the bike. And I didn't really know how to like answer that, other than like, listen, as long as you hold on to me, you're not gonna fly off. Like, I don't fly off, so you won't. And I took it easier on the bumps. Like, you know, especially on like Park Ave, going into the MetLife building, going uptown. Those railroad tracks, or what used to be, well, whatever, they still are, but not used anymore. But those tracks are can get super bumpy. So I just basically warned her in advance. One other thing that she was telling me about was that it always felt like I was like flying off on red lights and accelerating really hard, and I really wasn't. It just, for a new rider, especially for someone in the back and someone that isn't in control, that isn't like anticipating what I'm about to do, that doesn't know what I'm about to do, and I can't, I could only give her so many cues. I get it, especially with the wind and the cars around and the vibration of the bike, the noise of the bike. Accelerating, taking 10 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 30 might feel like I'm accelerating in 2 seconds. Feels like I'm racing out of every stoplight, when with her I wasn't. I was going as slow as possible. Things like this, like exactly what I'm doing now, taking my time and really like feathering the clutch, getting into second gear, as opposed to like making lots of noise and jerky movements, like this. I just didn't do that with her, and it still felt like, I think a lot of it is like a control thing, especially people that need the control, that are afraid of loss of control, are gonna have a hard time initially on the back of a bike. And so, it's up to the rider to kind of manage that. I would definitely recommend having some experience and having practiced, feathered movements and like really smoothing out the shifts in your bike and the decels, especially on a torquey bike like this. So I'll give you another example. Like right now I'm in first gear, going 25. I wouldn't do this with her. It sounds too scary. It sounds too noisy. The sound and the vibration of the bike makes it seem like I'm going faster than what I really am. So I'll always go up a gear. And that's it. I think as we do it a couple more times, I'll post a couple of other videos on those experiences. We'll see how it goes.